Actually, I need to share this. All right. Hello, everyone. Today is September 4th, 2024. This is the Kubernetes Data Protection Working Group meeting. Okay, so I think today we just get a quick update on the status of CBT. Then Dave, if you want to talk about the paper, the white paper, yeah, then we can also talk about a working group snapshot. All right. So is Carl, okay, Carl is here. Do you want to give an update on this? What's the status for CBT?
Not much change. We're still working on the coding, and Daniel is waiting on the test infrastructure PR. Doesn't seem to have moved much since that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you waiting for me? Okay, this is the one?
Yeah.
Oh. Did I? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. I will take a look. Okay, let me add an action item for myself here.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so let me actually get rid of all of this. So too many things here. Right, so we don't need those anymore. Work in progress. Is this, I think this is not a related issue. I'll just get rid of this one. Just too many.
Yeah, not an
Yeah.
issue.
And here, okay, are this still the red list? So we need an example. We need, so set cards were still work in progress.
Yeah.
We need to stand CSS sanity test. Okay, so those are still outstanding, right? Okay, so those,
Yes.
I'll just release them there. Okay, so this is my action item. Okay. Yeah, this one, since it merged, I'll just remove that. Anything else for this?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Dave, you want to talk about this? Oh, actually, if you want to share, Dave, your co-host, you want to share the paper, you have a
Yeah, I sent out a draft in Slack, and we can take a look at what I have so far. Let's see. There we go. Did that actually share something? I'm seeing black from this side. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea for the white paper was, we did the white paper on data protection and why you need it in Kubernetes, and that was really good. And then I think we've seen a lot of applications that have issues when being backed up and restored. So I thought it would be a good thing to start putting together a paper of, here's what backup and restore means for a Kubernetes application. Because there's a bunch of different edge cases and things to deal with. So let's see, why can't I see all of this? There we go. So I thought we would cover, both backup, restore, and replication. And we could cover other things as well. Those are just what I had picked off that was what I could think of off the top of my head. And then I started, I wrote, not, stuff, but then kind of going through some terms of what's going to happen in backup, and then how I haven't, started on this, and then maybe what what applications need to do. Once you've picked something, like for example, if you're going to be crash consistent, well, I mean, pretty much any application should be able to recover from a crash. But what does crash consistent backup mean? And then is your application actually, and we've actually run into applications that can't recover from a crash, and they get kind of confused on restore. So, because people just assume that they will never crash. And they've been lucky so far. So those kind of things would be in here. And then restore, restore is really where you really run into a lot of, that's what really needs to be working, right? And I think there's some sections in here about, working with operators and best practices for operators that we need to add. And then I just started doing some stuff for replication, and we can kind of look at replication from different levels. I think we've started defining some things here, or started to think about defining some things here, like disk to disk replication, remote replication. And then how would an application need to be set up to deal with disk to disk remote replication? What would you do for like Kubernetes resources? So I don't think we really have that as an answer yet. So that may be an area that we go into. And yeah, just, different types of consistency. I mean, this is really rough, right? I just started putting stuff down. So that's kind of where I'm at so far. And I will continue working on this, but I think we'll try and get some more people who are interested to contribute and help out with the outline and, what all needs to be done. So that's where I'm at. And yeah.
Sounds good. I think this is a great start.
So on the topic of recovery, are you going to discuss the Kubernetes standard of, you clone the snapshot to a new volume rather than reverting an existing volume back in time, and why that's actually better?
We certainly can.
That seems to be a common point of confusion, that people believe that, like, oh, well, if I have an application and I want to take it back in time, I actually need to revert its volume. And they sometimes don't realize, like, oh, you can just make a new copy of the application with a new PVC.
Right.
And if the CSI driver has a reasonable, clone from snapshot implementation, like that's actually exactly as good as just reverting the existing application back in time.
Right, and certainly that's a issue. I mean, revert. I don't know. We haven't implemented revert yet, right?
No, it's been proposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's been proposed.
I brought this up because there were some requests, and also we know that some vendor actually did their own customized version, right? But we don't really see like a general interest of making this a common API in CSI yet. I think. I guess we just want to talk about what's without what you can do without revert, what you can do with this.
Yeah. NetApp is one of the vendors that implemented revert, and it surprised me because again, it's like people asked for it, and I think there's a failure to understand why you don't need it, or again, like
I think you still have use case for that, right, Ben? It's just
so that's my request is if people have use cases where the existing Kubernetes implementation is insufficient and you actually need to revert, like those people need to bring those to our attention, because if I saw one that convinced me, I would change my stance and say, yes, we actually need to do revert now. I think it's all based on confusion.
Yeah, we can definitely describe that in what case you want to do a revert, and maybe that's compared to the other way of you just clone a new one. What's the benefit? What you are losing if you don't do a revert, right? So because right now so far sounds like a very small number of vendors have already done that. So I guess it's just not a common enough use case for us to at a common support. But
Well,
that's
I think
good to
there's,
support.
I mean, people already have revert
Yeah,
stuff
for
under
a
the
long
covers,
time.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's
They
not like
want to,
they're,
they want to do the same thing. Yeah, they just want to be able to do the same thing. Yeah, that's normally I think that's normally if you're asking use case, that's just people have been doing that forever. They want to continue to do that in this new
Well,
environment.
that's why I think we should outline like, hey,
Yeah.
the Kubernetes way is actually better than the way you've been doing it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
get people to change their behavior.
So I think that's something that we should talk about, right? Revert, maybe it's quicker. It's
But it isn't.
hard.
It isn't quick.
it would depend on,
Well,
it depends on your storage system's implementation.
it depends on how you it's
I
clone.
think the,
Yeah, also depends on your clone. I guess it also depends on your clone delay. So it can go either way. Depends on the underlying technology.
there are people who are like resource constrained.
Mhm.
So that's probably a bad idea, but sometimes you don't have a choice. But that's something else. But it doesn't really help you out because you've got to, in terms of like downtime, you're going to have to restart the application. And
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think a lot of the purported benefits don't really exist, and I'm looking for ones that do really exist and not finding them. So,
yeah, some of these things like, with VMs, reverting a VM, I don't know that anybody did that for backup purposes. It would tend more to be like, hey, I was messing with this thing and I didn't like the results. And let me go back to how the VM was configured, before I installed version X, which broke everything.
You maybe
Right.
want to put this in a different section, otherwise people get confused because restore.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just
a different,
so
different title.
restore is a large and complicated topic, but
Yeah,
this is a meaty part of that topic, I believe.
yeah.
So I think it deserves treatment
But
of
we
some
should,
kind.
we should talk. Yeah, we should talk about it. But I'm just saying maybe have it under different title.
Sure. I mean, I just wanted to make sure. I mean, I think it's a good point.
Otherwise,
So
people
let's
think
not-
this revert is part of the restore.
Well, no, we should be carefully described. Like the correct way to do a revert in Kubernetes is to delete the one you don't want and then clone the snapshot to something with the same name, and you'll get the same effect that you would have gotten from a revert with a lot of other benefits, like you don't have to delete all your more recent snapshots and can be exactly as fast in most implementations. And it could go through and list all the different benefits and just try to get people to think the Kubernetes way.
Yeah, so we probably
think
should
it's a
talk
good
about
point.
we should talk about different ways, right? You can restore time, you could dynamic provision, or you could just do static provisioning. There are different ways of doing it. We probably should list all of those pros and cons. Maybe there are use case for each.
Yeah, we probably want something in here as well, like, rolling back Kubernetes resources or persistent volumes separate or independently. Right, like you could, for example, just want to revert your Kubernetes resources, but not revert the data.
Revert. Okay, so
I think it's not revert, it's just a different, or we'll just say.
but then you need to have your data corresponding to that, right? Otherwise you auto sync.
Could be, right? I mean, but it could be that like, there was a config map that was messed up, right? And nothing else changed. So you want to restore the config map. So I think that's something that's.
Okay, just restore the metadata, not the data. Okay.
Yeah, or you might do the other way around where you say, hey, I don't want to roll back, I don't want to revert the Kubernetes resources. I just want to, restore the data.
Okay, so that's like you basically restore it to the same the original namespace, but then you kind of okay, so if they're there, you just skip it, but they only override the data, something like that. So you need to
Right. I think it's just something that we can think about that and toss that in.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything we could say about temporal relationships. I mean, it's like, Xing was mentioning dynamic versus provisioning and things like that. So like, why would people choose, say, one type of volume over another? How does it relate to the overall deployment and time taken to backup, time taken to restore? I mean, very nebulous concepts, but they do have some implication on the design of how you do your app, right?
Yeah. Actually, just as you're talking, just keep thinking. I'm just thinking we should put this in here.
Oh,
Since
yeah,
it's
yeah.
something
That
we've been
is
working
talk
on.
about that, yeah.
But no, Carl's point is good. What could we?
I mean, fundamentally, there's some window on backup, right? You have some minimal time the application may be in some degraded state while you're doing a backup, so you want to reduce that, right? That's where snapshot comes in, etc. But if you have continuous backups, then you definitely want the previous one to have cleared before you do the next. So there's a window over there too. And then there's the restore time, and then restore concepts, right? Yeah, you have hot cold failure, right? So there's those type of notions are there. So
I mean, we this is the place to like add topics in. We can always prune them down, right? But it's a good place to think about, you know. So we're thinking like dynamic versus static provisioning.
Shannon mentioned
That's
that.
I think that's more like I was talking about at the restore time, right? How do
Oh,
you
restore time. Okay, yeah. Okay.
right
Mhm.
can either do that dynamically or statically depending on the use case.
Okay. Okay, so I shared the link in the Slack channel, and I believe I have it set so everybody can comment. I just don't want to have, complete free-for-all going on, but anybody who's interested in editing, just just Slack me and I will add you. It's
Yeah, I added this in the agenda doc as well. This
great. Yeah, so kind of related to this, I mean, so we need to get started on our talk for the data protection group deep dive. And I think we're planning to talk about, CBT, probably touch on this. And if anybody else has topics that, we should be bringing out in the deep dive, let us know. I think you can talk about volume loop consistency a little.
okay. And anything else about this topic? All right, so I guess we can move on to the next topic then. Today we can look at this again next time. Okay, so next topic, voting group snapshot beta. So this is yeah, so this is ongoing. ETV test that's in review. Oh, this one is actually merged. Unit test merged. So there's a PR submitted. this, I think, all right, I think we talked about this last time. Do we have, oh, right, okay, so Infinidat is working on a driver, and the Alibaba Cloud also has a POC. So Ben, I guess we are good with this, right? So just need to, we just need to kind of put it down somewhere in the document and say, hey, they did this.
You mean the group snapshot?
Yeah, so those.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Oh.
Do we have a link to a document or an email message for the historical record?
Yeah, I will. You know what? Let me ask them if they have actually a link to the driver. Would be better, right? So.
Yeah, if it's open source and they're willing to release whatever the POC or the implementation is, that's ideal. Because then it can be like, look, it's actually done. But I mean, I would just take an email message from a representative saying we have POC'd this and it's fine, right? The point is just to get buy-in.
Yeah. So it's actually okay. There is actually one thing. Maybe that's something we can probably start looking at this. There is one issue opened by the person who is working on the Infinidat CISA driver volume group snapshot. So he actually opened some issues here. So this is something that we actually should talk, because it's actually
you mean they're not happy with the design as is?
It is actually required. It is actually required. So that's why we need to talk about this. Do we want to do this or not? Right. So this one I think is good. Okay, let me put this there. So this is something we actually need to actually talk about, because it could be blocking, right? If we
yeah, this is the kind of change you would want to make before going to beta.
Yes. Let's make sure we talk about it. Yeah. So I think it was good that he has been testing this one. He opened some other there are two other issues. I think those are like bugs. But this one is actually a request that actually need a CSI change. So he is requesting so when you delete a volume group snapshot, he is requesting not to always delete the individual snapshots. So it's like asking for a flag. Now, is this something that is desirable? Because
the question is
together, right? So okay, so maybe let's just read this one carefully and delete that.
Well, no, I think I understand what the request is, but the question is our actual implementation. Is there a way to achieve this by just hacking the Kubernetes objects? Or because I can't remember if at the CSI layer, when you create a group snapshot, do we create a separate object that represents the group snapshot that's distinct from the individual snapshot IDs?
We have a volume group volume group snapshot content. We also have individual volume snapshot content, right? So, but the thing is,
okay, but like, well, I guess what I'm saying is if let's say you shut off the sidecar and you just deleted the Kubernetes group snapshot object, and somehow the CSI call never got made.
But we have finalizers, right? So we don't allow that. But I guess he's saying we should allow that. I guess that's the question we need to discuss, is that should we allow that? Because now in each volume snapshot, we actually have the group name, we kind of we have the association there, right? So if you delete only the group without deleting the snapshot, then what does that mean? Or when you delete this one, are we going to also remove that entry in the individual volume snapshots just so that they're not part of the volume group? You know what I mean? So basically each volume snapshot
you basically want a way to divorce the individual snapshots from their group.
Yeah, does that make sense?
And then delete the group without touching the snapshots. The first question that pops into my head is, what if that's not possible on a particular backend? Like I know, like on a NetApp backend, that would be trivial. Of course, you could do that,
right?
Because there is no group snapshot.
I think this is probably not. It's something some driver can do this, but not all. I guess that's the thing, right?
Well, but we should establish that for sure, because my assumption is that most probably can. So, are you aware of one that definitely can't? Because all we would need is one that definitely can't, to say this is why we don't want to enforce this as a feature.
Oh,
And then
this
we
is
could
the- no,
offer some.
He's talking about the flag. So he's
No,
talking
no,
about
but
the flag, meaning that you either you with this flag, then you can allow this or don't allow this.
no, but we want to stay away from weird capabilities flags because they inhibit portability, right? So I would rather have a feature that always works, even if it lacks this kind of flexibility, than one that sometimes works and is way more flexible, because then no one can use the flexibility for fear that they'll lose portability.
Oh,
So
there's-
you know what I mean? So are you aware of one that can't do it?
I do not know. So probably that's something that we need to check with vendors. Yeah, so let me do that. Okay, let me just say check with vendors. Let's see.
I mean, I'm trying to remember back to when we were designing this, because I'm sure that I proposed something like that originally and said, why don't we just return a bunch of snapshots and not group them? And I think you made the argument that
So
there's some backends that actually have to group them.
So I think, no, initially I have a design which is you can actually add and remove, right? Remember we got rid of that one. So if you do add and remove, that actually allow you to add but that's volume, no, that's not snapshot, sorry. Snapshot usually together, yeah. So I think it's, in my mind, we are talking about consistent, right? So that if they're not consistent anymore, I guess you can still use that individually.
No, I mean, we could have designed it so you say snapshot these 5 volumes consistently, and the output could be 5 snapshots with no API level link between them, and just to guarantee that they were taken consistently. Like that would be perfectly reasonable. But I thought that the problem that created was then when you want to delete them, if you don't remember that they're associated with each other, you can't delete them one by one. Like you actually have to go back and delete.
Yeah, so we do need to have that. Yeah, so we do need to have that relationship. So otherwise, it's very hard to connect.
So that's the argument for why not to do this feature, right? Because this feature says you can break the link and get back to the state where you just have a bunch of snapshots and no group. So if it's possible to implement this enhancement, then we never needed the group in the first place. So I think that's the reason not to do it. And then what we should focus on is how do we work around this?
But the feature, we need the feature because when you create them, you do need to put them in a group, right? Because otherwise, how do you guarantee they are consistent? If you just individual ones, right? I guess a delete time, yeah. So probably we just need to check, right? So maybe that's action item. We just reach out to each vendor just to see if there is any issue if we implement this.
You could guarantee it at the sidecar level, not at the CSI level, right? You could just have CSI take list of volumes in, list of snapshots out, and that could be the interface. And then the sidecar could tie them all together. But we decided, no, we actually want to have a new object that gets passed in and an object that gets passed out of the API, I thought. That represents the group.
Are you saying we don't even need one group snapshot? I'm confused. I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
No. I'm saying that the API design, having a proper group object might not have been necessary. You could have just done it as a. I think the argument I made originally was just pass in a list of volumes.
We already got rid of volume group, right? Remember in the beginning I have volume group, so that one we got rid of. But we do need to have a group snapshot to say that that they are together. If you just have a list of them, then what? You do have to. If you don't even have a volume group snapshot API object, then what do you say? Okay, I create a list of snapshot, but how do you even know they're together? You just by checking. But then each one will have to have a ID saying they're together, right?
Hold on. I'm trying to find the. I'm reading the spec now to see how we actually did this. Okay, so you establish a name for the snapshot request, and that's for item potency. And you give it a list of volume IDs and secrets and parameters. And then in the response, you get back a volume group snapshot, which has an ID. Okay, so this is the key. The API returns an ID for the group snapshot and the individual snapshots. And so to clean up, you not only have to delete the individual snapshots, but you have to delete the group ID. I think one of the proposals that I made that got shot down was like, why not just have the request be a list of volume IDs and the response be a list of snapshot IDs, and never create a name and ID for the group itself, right? Just have it be
I
implicit.
don't think that's, I don't think that's possible. I think we talked about that.
Right.
Okay.
But if that's not possible, then it's also not possible to do what this request implies, right? Which is you can break them. Otherwise, we would have just done it that way from the beginning, I think.
No, I think this is why it's different. I think this one was saying, yeah, well, initially they're together, but now I want to break them, right? Just provide a way to break them. Break them meaning you just it's kind of like, oh, you know what? I think what is not possible. I think if it's I think it's for file or that file kind of volume, then that's not possible. That's I think that's the problem. That you can't, because like remember I have this add and remove kind of a thing, right? Initially, you can actually have the individual ones, but for file, it's just not possible. You just have to, when you create it, you have to just say, hey, all of them together. Yeah, I think it's weird to allow this. So let's see what is the if we don't support. Okay, let's just see if we don't support it, then what alternatives?
I guess my bottom line is I would be okay supporting this if it was a required feature for everybody, but not if it's as an optional feature that only some drivers can implement. Right?
Okay.
If it turns out that everyone can just do this, then I say like yes, we should make this a standard part of the API. That after you take your group snapshot, you can delete the group and keep the snapshots to do what you want with, if that's what you want. Because I like that.
But he's asking this to be a flag, so it's like you can do this or that.
But we can do whatever we want. It's still alpha.
I know, but just say that is this do you want this to be just one choice? Either you completely separate them, or you want a flag. Flag meaning you either say delete this and delete all of them, or you say I just delete this, but then remove them. They say you remove them from the group. That's what this means, right?
If it's possible to divorce the individual snapshots from their group snapshot ID, then I think the CSI spec should force you to do that and to treat them separately and push all the complexity into the sidecar to if you want to have like a mass delete operation that's more convenient, have the sidecar help you with that, but don't push it down into the CSI spec. We could, if it's possible at the CSI spec layer to say it's okay to divorce them, then we should just always divorce them and treat the linking as a sidecar level.
So basically
concept.
that will be, then the delete will always be like a two-step, almost like.
Yes, but the sidecar could do the 2 steps for you.
Then it's not going to be.
Isn't that what's happening now? I mean, so this.
No,
this
right
is
now,
saying
just
that-
one API. Right now, just one API. You delete the group.
Yeah.
You delete
Right
the
now,
group snapshot. It will delete all the individual snapshot as well. One step.
But the CSI driver has to do all the work.
Right. Yeah. I guess right now the question is, like in our Kubernetes API level, what do we want? And CSI level, what do we want?
I don't think this is a Kubernetes. This is a vendor, isn't this? So they're asking.
So basically this is a Infinita. They are trying to implement one group snapshot in their driver. So they are just to bring this up saying, hey, can we do this? Right. So we're just
it's about how their driver gets called, not about what they want.
I think, but they're asking us to allow them to do that, because right now, if you delete the one group snapshot, they will have to.
They will continue. So if the way I read it is they want to delete all of the snapshots. The snapshots will be deleted at the end, but their hardware will go ahead and do that. And they don't want the CSI driver to delete each snapshot individually.
I don't think it does. It just passes down the list.
That's what he claims. So I noticed that when I delete a volume group snapshot, the snapshotter calls controller delete snapshot for each snapshot belonging to the volume group.
I didn't realize that.
I don't know if it's true. I'm just reading what's there. But this is from the vendor side. He said, you're calling me. What I'm reading is you're calling me when
Okay,
I
so
don't,
this sounds
when you
to,
don't
okay,
need
so
to.
this sounds to be wrong. Okay, I actually need to take a look. I need to talk to this guy because this sounds wrong because we don't, that's not what we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if this is true, then it's just another bug.
Then that sounds like a
You-
bug. Yeah, so I need to
Yeah,
look
I mean,
because-
this does not sound like a request for a user-facing feature.
okay, let's see. Okay, let me read this again. When I delete the volume group snapshot, delete the volume group snapshot is called, and that the snapshot calls controller delete snapshot. Yeah, no, that's wrong. So then maybe there's a bug there. That's a little weird. Okay, removing a volume group causes the underlying snapshot. Yeah, how do you reach? Right, that's sounds like a bug.
I could easily imagine that it's just when the snapshot object gets deleted, the normal sidecar logic that says, "Oh, a snapshot is getting deleted. I
So
need to go
maybe
call
yeah,
delete
it's
snapshot."
possible
Is
that
getting
he
it
actually
done.
read it. It's possible he read it wrong because the call, it will get a call, but it's going to be should be skipped because that's how we say skip it because it checks, hey, this one has a has a group snapshot ID, then it's going to skip it. So maybe that's what he sees. It will be called, but it will be skipped right away because it's
Well, but
actually handled by the
the sidecar will, but the CSI
yeah,
RPC
it will be
endpoint should
skipped.
not get
No, so
called.
that's wrong. So either way, this looks like a bug, or it just he didn't read the logs correctly. So okay, so I need to check this. That's not right. We should. That's not how it. Okay, so thanks for bringing this up. I was reading only the title quickly. I thought that's what he want, but it's like
Yeah,
maybe-
reading the title, it sounds like, hey, I want an option to not
yeah,
delete.
yeah. This is weird. So I think it sounds like a bug. Okay, turn off the having call. All right, let me actually. I will ask him to show logs actually.
I mean, anyone who has an implementation of group snapshots could reproduce this behavior easily by just trying it out and adding some logging.
So, yeah, we actually spent a lot of time implement this one actually. So this is wrong. I think it's possible he read this wrong or something. Should not cause to really delete the view snapshot. Should be skip quickly. All right, so just okay. Yeah, okay, so maybe this is not a problem. Good, thank you. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's good. And the other question, I think the other thing we can in the CSI community sync next week, we should make a decision about this, right? So like this one, basically like should CSI spec move to Alpha 2 GA. So this is the thing. I think we should in next meeting we should talk about this, make a decision, because we are getting very close to get the E2 test done. Yeah, so everything else is moving forward. So I think, yeah. So
But we should be sure about this question about this group snapshot deletion, because
yeah, I will check. Yeah, so I will check this one. So this one is a follow-up item for me. So action.
because it is the case that we could change the API and it could still work if every vendor is able to
so I will,
delete snapshots independently.
I will check what he wants. But if this is not his request, then I don't think we need to add this thing, right? Because what he's
Well,
asking,
but it could be somebody else's request. Yeah,
I don't
anyone
know.
could show up and say,
I can't, yeah,
hey, I
can
actually
ask,
want
but
to do
why
this
do
separately.
we, yeah, I don't know if that's something that is really.
Well, it would be a more flexible, more generalized API, and it would be better if it didn't freeze out vendor implementations. So, because you can imagine a case where you have a consistent group snapshot with 10 volumes, and you're like, well, you know what, 2 of those volumes don't really matter. I just want to delete their snapshots, but I want to keep the other 8 because they're valuable.
But what you are proposing is just always make this one loose. Always just say, okay.
If vendors can implement that, it is better to be flexible.
Okay. I actually want you to spell out what exactly what you want to do. So if possible, right? If possible. What do you want? What? Okay, can you say that again? So basically, let's say when someone say, let's just talk about voting group snapshot. Then
the potential proposal would be, you always have to delete the group snapshot and the individual snapshots separately. So you would not pass the list of snapshot IDs to delete group snapshot. You would just pass the group snapshot ID. And that would be a lightweight operation that would just delete the metadata associated with the group. All the individual snapshots you would always delete individually.
Yeah, so
whenever you wanted to.
That's actually not possible for this guy, basically, right? Because he actually wants to be able to just delete group snapshot, then everything deleted. He does not just want to go to.
But that's how the current API works, right? The current API says you have to pass down.
But I think he looks like he probably ran into a bug, because he said this call actually goes to controller.
It could be the case that both are happening, that the group snapshot call is happening with this group ID and all the snapshot IDs, and then additionally, because of a bug, it's also calling delete snapshot individually.
We actually skip it. That's not that's not what the design is supposed to do. Right?
I'm just saying, like, we should get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
As part of the promotion to beta.
Because that's actually, we spend a lot of time. We spend a long time implementing delete snapshot. That's why we delete. That's why we kind of waited for one more release just to say, hey, this is ready. That's because the delete was not there, right? We spent a long time for that. So I'm pretty sure that's working for host pass drivers. I don't know if something's wrong there. I need to check. That I'm pretty sure that's like a very it's like
the host path driver can't really take snapshots. That's like a fake implementation. I would be interested to know if there's like real storage implementations that like, because of how their groups work, you can't divorce the members from the group.
Right. So yeah, I think he probably I would think most likely he read this logs wrong. So, but yeah, definitely I will we need to investigate that one. Yeah. Delete snapshot first and deleting. I think that's kind of delete. That's kind of okay, I'll just say, do we want this, right? This question is. So actually, if I'm now reading this again, I think he does not want this. He actually wants to be able to have an option so that you don't have to do this. He just wants this to be, he wants to flag so
but the current design is you never do this, right? We think if this is happening, it's a bug.
Right. It is a bug. I'm just saying I think it sounds like
Yeah.
he may be running into some issues, and then he want to make sure he does not want this because he does not want to
Yeah.
to go do this way. So if we always want to do this way, that's the opposite of what he's asking for. That's what that's
Right,
what
right,
I'm
right.
trying to say. It's just more.
We should always do it one way or the other. There shouldn't be an
Yeah.
option.
Okay, yeah. So there's more investigation definitely for this one. Yeah. So we definitely will test and see. I will ask some people to verify this one, right? So the staff folks, because they are very active on doing this, I want them to test this. Yeah, then ask this guy to verify exactly what happened. Okay. And okay, so then I think. Okay, so I think that's it. Are there any other topics? All right, then. If we don't have any other topics, then that's it for today. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Xing.
Thanks,
Bye.
Shane.